And now we're on to the best bike, which is sponsored by Craig-O-Matic, and it was Craig Hood with his KX 500.
Maybe we can just have a few moments with you. I think we do.